Hi, I'm Justine Harrison, today's host, and I would like to welcome you to another episode of Let's Talk Film, a film review series for women which allows their contemporary voices to be heard on a variety of film releases. Today we will be reviewing WADJDA, the feature debut of Saudi Arabian director and writer Hafia Al-Mansour. We are shooting at Videology, a unique bar and video store that includes a screening room for nightly features and events. It is located here on Bedford Avenue, the longest street in Brooklyn, between South 1st Street and South 2nd Street in Williamsburg. Considered by many to currently be one of the hippest communities in New York City, Williamsburg has become a mecca for trendy restaurants and bars, great nightlife, and home to many a young urban professional. And local cinephiles and beyond get their film on at Videology. Let's go inside and find out why. Hi, Wendy. How are you?
Hi.
So tell us a little bit about the history of Videology. How long has it been here?
We've been here since 2003. We opened as a video store back in December of 2003, and we were a video store for 9 years. And then we renovated and opened in what you see here back in November of last year.
So you added a bar and a restaurant to the video store?
You know, we made the decision that we were going to open a screening room and, you know, have obviously drinks be a part of that. So now what we do is we do screenings every night in this room, in the screening room. We have a full bar, and we still rent DVDs, so we have over 16,000 titles.
Wow.
You know, obviously, most people these days have Netflix, or, you know, they download, you know, from iTunes or whatever, but we still have a lot of people that, you know, like to come here and get movies, and we also have a lot of, you know, hard to find things, but we still have, you know, all the new releases and everything too.
Wonderful.
So every Monday night we show local films, which we're really excited about, and Tuesday nights we do movie trivia. Wednesday nights we do bingo. Right now we're doing Arrested Development bingo, which is a lot of fun. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday we have, like, you know, all sorts of like different monthly events. Or we just show, you know, whatever movie we show.
And do you rent out the space to people?
Yeah, we do private events too. You know, I think this space is a lot more informal than like a regular movie theater where you have rows of seats, so it's a lot more conducive to a group of people coming out and having some drinks and, you know, sort of in a more casual setting. I think people feel a little bit more open to like talk about the film, and it's, you know, a lot more open to discussion.
One other question, do you have any drink specials or a happy hour, anything like that?
We do happy hour all day from 12 to 7, actually. So, and then we also have a late night happy hour, $1 off drinks after midnight.
Okay.
And we have a full, you know, full bar and a cocktail menu and 6 beers on draft, so we have a lot of choices.
Thank you so much, Wendy. We'll definitely come out and visit Videology, or go online to videology.info and come over to Williamsburg on Bedford Avenue. Today we will be reviewing WADJDA, the feature film of Saudi Arabian director Hafia Al-Mansour. It says here that some critics have drawn a comparison between WADJDA in this film and Hush Puppy from the critically acclaimed film of last year, Beasts of the Southern Wild. There might be some relationship. I think they were pretty different. One is just where they were from. It's almost too difficult to compare them, just because they were from such different places of the world and economies and cultures and areas and locations. But I think there was some comparison, because really they were both trying to kind of make their way in the world. They were really doing it through different means, and they were doing it through different avenues, and then of course, like Hush Puppy from Beasts of the Southern Wild, that kind of had a fantastical element, and there was none of that really in WADJDA, but they were both trying to just find their way in the world and understand why things were the way they were and why they were happening. And so in some ways, yes. There was a lot of strengths to this film. It was a nice, intimate, accessible portrayal of something that we're not used to seeing, which was really cool, and it was intriguing. It wasn't overly sad or dramatic, even though there could be room for that, so that was good. It was lifelike. It was how it would be. It was just totally different than what we're used to, the culture. But in many ways, there was Western influence, so there was like able to relate PlayStations and, you know, Converse sneakers and music on the radio, and the niceness and kind of familial relationship between everyone was nice to see, and there may have been some weaknesses. I mean, I think. It didn't really feel long. It was paced pretty well. It kind of had a definite story it was trying to tell. I mean, maybe the only thing I could possibly think of that was a little weak, maybe, was the lighting was a little flat. But for a film of this nature, it was good. It showed like Saudi Arabia and living there how it really was, and there was a lot of natural light, which was nice, and there was a lot of outdoor shots of like kind of the streets and the desert and like how it is living over there, really hot, and a lot of dust, but there wasn't too many weaknesses. I really don't think there was, and there was some really nice acting. I think the little girl who played WADJDA was wonderful, and she was really heartwarming and sweet. The little boy who played her friend was really nice, and the parents and the headmistress, they were all just really good. They seemed really grounded in their performances. I think it was sort of something they were able to tell, a story they were able to tell, because they were familiar with what that may be like. It was something close to home for them, I think. And I liked it. I liked the film. It was just different than most of the films you see. It wasn't quite like most. It was just very here's what it is. This is, it definitely had a storyline that followed, but it was very kind of just here's life, sort of. So that was nice. And the cinematography of this film was interesting. I mean, it wasn't sweeping. It wasn't like extremely artistic, but it was just here's where we live. This is what it's like on the streets, and this is what it's like in the house. And the house was I think a 1-floor home or an apartment, and it was big. The main character seemed to have a little bit of money, but definitely interesting to see like the plates, and I mean the fridge. Like there was everything was normal. The pots were all normal, but there was definitely some like things specific to a Saudi Arabian kitchen or like a Saudi Arabian dining table. They would eat on the floor a lot, so that was cool because we don't usually eat from like this huge plate. It was kind of like an oblong plate, and that was interesting. And also, I was thinking I want to go to a Saudi Arabian restaurant now because I'm not that familiar with the food, so it'd be nice to see some things. And this is the first film directed by a female in Saudi Arabia, and I think the directing was good and definitely had a nice soft touch. It was sweet. It definitely was about women and their plight and their journey in Saudi Arabia, and I could see that. I could definitely understand that this was from a woman's perspective. I feel as if it was from a male perspective in Saudi Arabia, it would probably be a little different, and most likely the main character would not be female. The director stated that this film is loosely based on her niece, and I think the plot and the script of this film are simple and just to the point. It wanted to tell a specific story, and it told it. It didn't have a lot of other things that were like fettering with the storyline. There was kind of just a like beginning, middle, and end, and it was easy to follow and understand, and it wasn't something that was too complex or too thinky, which is nice. But it had a real heart to it. It had a real like beat and underlying humanity, for sure. I think everyone should see the film. I don't know if everyone will because it's smaller and it's foreign and it's Middle Eastern, and there's not as much of a connection to Middle Eastern film as there might be to like Western European or even Asian film. But I think a lot of people should. It's a nice portrayal of life. And now let's switch gears to our segment, Video on Demand Pick of the Week. Here's Mimi.
Thanks, Justine. This is Video on Demand Pick of the Week. I'm Mimi Spillane. I'm in New York City's Central Park on a glorious early autumn afternoon. Good for construction workers. You can probably hear them right over there. I'm also near the Dakota apartment building where John Lennon was killed in 1980. And just up this path is Strawberry Fields, the memorial built to John Lennon. It was an incredibly distressing time for New York City and for Beatles and music fans all over the world, who were also still sad about the group's breakup 8 years previous. And that is part of what today's movie is about. I'm reviewing Good Old Frida, written by Jessica Lawson and Ryan White, who is also the director of this documentary. This is the story of Frida Kelly, who ran the Beatles fan club, perhaps the world's most coveted job, at least for the youth of the world at that time. She was just 17, if you know what I mean, when she got the job. A heady position for anyone, but particularly for a young woman who had no aspirations beyond the typing pool she came from. The film's title comes out of the Beatles' 1963 Christmas message. Remember them? If you're old enough, you might. While John, Paul, and Ringo were thanking the fans, George thanked Frida, and the other lads all joined in with Good Old Frida. There isn't much that isn't known about the Fab Four by this point, and this documentary doesn't offer any more than a few bits of trivia. The film is really about the early years, spending a lot of time on the Beatles' early days at Liverpool's Cavern Club. This is a low-key telling of Frida's story, sort of like Frida herself. She never capitalized on the connection and doesn't spill any really juicy details of the things that she must have witnessed in her 11 years with the group. The story ends in 1972 when she, like the four Beatles, moved on to their own individual lives. The soundtrack is disappointing in that it has only a few early Beatles songs, plus other music of the time. There's nothing flashy about the production, lots of Frida's stills, with her interview providing the narration. Director Ryan White, along with producers including Kathy McCabe and Jessica Lawson, have managed to find a way to tell the familiar Beatles story from a different perspective, and that's not an easy task. I wonder if Good Old Frida's modest success and its limited box office run and on demand is a sign that interest in the Beatles is turning into nostalgia, rather than the group is still a pertinent part of culture today. And I know that might be heresy for some. It's fun to watch, there's no heavy lifting, but it is ultimately underwhelming. So on my scale of 4 remotes, I'm giving it 2. This is Video on Demand Pick of the Week. I'm Mimi Spillane. I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Mimi. Well, we've run out of time, but I would like to thank Wendy for allowing us to shoot here at Videology. Again, today we were discussing WADJDA, written and directed by Hafia Al-Mansour. Be sure to check out this and more online at our website at www.letstalkfilm.com, which is also available on your mobile devices. I'm today's host, Justine Harrison. Until next time, keep watching and keep talking film.